AIPAC knows that it's not as popular as it used to be. So they have been secretly funding candidates a different way. Let's check out the expose here, ladies and gents. Shout out to Chris Minahan. AIPAC is now apparently having their donors give money to candidates directly through some shady back channel rather than through their own organization. See, sneaky. This allows them to avoid the stigma of being AIPAC funded. The site appears to be using Democracy Engine LLC as the vendor, meaning they may be able to skirt FEC requirements to earmark the donation. But what's also clear is that donors are being sent this link from AIPAC driving donations without any transparency of that happening. And that is coming from this report from Matthew Eady. New, I've obtained 2 emails sent directly from AIPAC on August 21st and September 15th, fundraising for State Senator Laura Fine in Illinois, District 9. Both emails include links to a hidden web page called Pro-Israel Network with live and hidden donation pages. But the homepage to the site is dead. Let's go on, folks. The first email sent on August 21st calls Kat, I think you pronounce her name Abba Hazala, Kat Abba Hazala, a anti-Israel detractor with a radical foreign policy agenda and an anti-America agenda. This confirms my reporting that there was an email before the September 15th AIPAC email soliciting donations for Fine. You can see the image here. Here's that email. And it says, "Dear so-and-so." This one is from Martin Ritter. And it says, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky has announced her retirement. And this is the email where they're smearing Kat. It says she's a 25-year-old social media influencer. She does not mince words when it comes to her thoughts on Israel and the bond between our two nations. Her radical foreign policy agenda includes, and it goes on to put, recognition of a Palestinian state, describes the West Bank as a legal occupation, baselessly blames Israel for the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians. So basically the truth, basically the truth, but it goes on to show here, donate to Laura Fine now. So it goes on to say, who she is. Again, this is all AIPAC. See, they're sneaky. This is what I said before. Like, they'll find ways to continue doing what they want to do. The second email on September 15th, also sent by AIPAC, encourages donations to Angie Craig in Minnesota, Haley Stevens in Michigan, and Laura Fine in Illinois. Links to all 3 of these candidates lead to the same pro-Israel network donation page using Democracy Engine as their vendor. See, let's talk about these names here for a second. This is how some of these like PACs and also some of these donors, this is how they trip people up. They'll use a name like Democracy Engine or Democracy for the People, like stuff like that. So it just sounds like, oh, this is just an organization that cares about protecting democracy, right? Okay. But until you look behind the walls of this and see, okay, but what is Democracy Engine, which a lot of people just don't have time to do, you're not going to really know who is funding this. So AIPAC is trying to be sneaky, and they're trying to use other names as vendors so that people don't know that it's AIPAC. And he has an example here, another email, and it says, support key pro-Israel candidates who need your help, right? So again, very deceiving. So they're sneaky. It goes on to say here, the site is using Democracy Engine LLC as the vendor, meaning they may be able to skirt FEC requirements to earmark the donation, But what's also clear is that the donors are being sent this link from AIPAC, driving donations without any transparency of that happening. And you can see here, see how it says donate $7,000? Up here, it says contact Democracy Engine at support Democracy Engine. Democracy Engine will charge each recipient an applicable service fee. So this is totally misleading. This is totally misleading. They don't tell you that this is AIPAC, and that's what it is. Now, here's the other scary part. It seems like they found a way to skip past that FEC reporting. Because if they can just say, oh, yeah, Democracy Engine donated $7,000 to said candidate, well, technically that wouldn't be false. That is true, but it's also AIPAC that is funding that through Democracy Engine. So they're trying to build as much layers away from them and the candidate as possible by using a different vehicle. It's basically like if you were in a truck and you were transporting boxes of shoes in that truck to said neighborhood, and you decide instead of using that truck to go to that neighborhood, you still transport the boxes of shoes, but on the way to that neighborhood, you take those shoes off of the truck, dump them into another truck, and have that truck go into the neighborhood and drop off the shoes. They're switching cars, but they're still doing it. It goes on to say here, let me go ahead and show you this part. This is how it shows up in filing. Democracy Engine LLC. And here's the money. $162.92, $592, but it doesn't show AIPAC. It shows Democracy Engine LLC. I don't even see how I understand how this is legal. I really don't. To me, this just it seems like money laundering. I just don't understand how it's legal. So we got to educate everybody here, folks. They are very sneaky. In Matthew Eady's article, he pointed out something else. AIPAC donors flood fines campaign. See, these candidates now can be sneaky and they can say, I don't take any money from AIPAC. I'm taking money from Democracy Engine, but you're still getting money from AIPAC. So they are coming up with all kinds of ways to just get past it. Let's make this a little bit bigger for the people in the back. So check this out. Because of that, over 270 donors, many of whom have backed dozens of Republican politicians and the nation's largest pro-Israel lobbying group, donated over $319,000 to Senator Fine's congressional campaign since May. Over $319,000 that have been donated to her are coming from pro-Israel lobbying group. Yeah. Bryce said they love lying. Absolutely. See, they're sneaky. So I just want to jump forward to this part here. Hundreds of her donors who drove almost half of her campaign fundraising had previously supported several candidates, both Republican and Democrat, through AIPAC, including Ted Cruz, Mike Johnson, Rick Scott, etc. Let me just jump down here. Over 740 individual donations Fine received since launching her campaign. Over 270 came from donors with strong links to AIPAC. So now this can show up as an individual donation. See, they always find ways around this. And this is what I'm noticing. It goes on to say here, Fine's donations as listed in both her July and October FEC filings were not earmarked as being made through AIPAC and are displayed as individual donations. Ding, 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 ding. Evanston Now cross-checked hundreds of the donors and their donation histories, compiling a list of candidates her donors had previously supported. AIPAC, individual donations. So you know how if you look at Open Secrets or if you look at FEC, there's a column that says like PAC donations, and then it'll say individual donations. So if it shows up as individual donation, AIPAC can just say, well, that didn't come from us. That's just an individual. but they won't tell you that that individual is a part of AIPAC. So they're trying to make it so that, okay, let's make this candidate more appealing to the pro-Palestinian crowd by saying she doesn't take AIPAC donations. If you look at the FEC filings, it shows she's getting a lot of donations from Democracy Engine, but they don't tell you that that's just a vehicle to transport AIPAC donations. AIPAC doesn't donate to candidates directly, right? So it's a PAC. So it's a PAC that donates. Okay, we can say you have this number of PAC donations. But by doing it this way, this is basically AIPAC donating to a candidate directly by individual donations. Crazy stuff. Another thing that, let me show you what he mentioned here. Another thing that he mentioned here is that many of the donors had supported Democratic candidates too, sometimes donating to both Republicans and Democrats at the same time. See, anything to pursue the pro-Israel mission. In September 30th, Fine had raised over $660,000 in total, with over 90% being from large dollar donations of $200 or more. Of the larger dollar donations, Evanston Now found that about a third came from out of state, totaling about $196,000 from just over 180 individual donations. All but $10,000 of Fine's out-of-state contributions came from donors who had previous ties to AIPAC. That's what the records show. I smell trouble because they are trying to cheat the system. And also, Matthew, he shared links so that you guys can see what those sites look like, right? This is what I've found. There could be more, but the last is what appears to be the identifier for the site. And you'll see here, did I show it here? So here's one example, Laura Fine, Pro-Israel Network. This is still AIPAC. Support pro-Israel House candidate Laura Fine. Still AIPAC, guys. Let's go back to that link because he included others. Here's another one to show you it's not just Laura Fine. Haley Stevens. New site, different name, Pro-Israel Network, Pro-Israel Community for Haley Stevens. This is still AIPAC. Sneaky, very, very sneaky. So in short, I want to show you what he basically wraps up here, and then I'm going to show you a video proving it. Matthew said what so appears to be happening here is this. AIPAC is soliciting donations to campaigns through its emails to its donors, including links to hidden web pages using Democracy Engine LLC as a vendor, and the donations show in FEC filings as direct donations from a donor to a candidate. I think this should be illegal. I just don't even know how this is allowed to happen. But I'm glad someone is calling it out. Now, to show you an example, here's a video. Let's bring up this guy here. Here's a video of a former AIPAC lobbyist, Trevor Chandler, who is not Jewish, offers insight on how Israel's state lobby works and how little it has to do with anything Jewish. Listen to what he says here.
The simplest form is about building individual relationships with every single member of Congress, which is very tough. And so for AIPAC, and which again is a traditionally Jewish organization, is important to note that over 90% of congressional districts in the United States statistically have no Jews, statistically 0%. And yet, even with that lack of representation in a lot of these congressional districts, AIPAC is still able to have a significant relationship with every single member of Congress. And that's because we encourage our members our activists to build these relationships with members of Congress that are outside their district. We encourage, although AIPAC does not do this, AIPAC does not fundraise. We do not endorse candidates. We do not fundraise for candidates. We don't raise money for them. But we do encourage our members to raise money for candidates and get involved in the political process. And so one of the things that
So do you see that? That should be illegal. They're basically just going around the playground to get to the slide. That's what they're doing, but they're still getting to the slide.
AIPAC does do as an organization is we actually meet with every single viable member of or person who's running for Congress. So even before these people are in Congress, we're having a conversation with them, and we're asking them to write a position paper describing how they view the U.S.-Israel relationship. And a lot of times, if they say, "Oh, I don't know a lot about it," we'll connect them to one of our members, and we'll say, "Here, talk with Trevor." Well, not me. So talk with Don. And if you have questions about Iran, if you have questions about security assistance and why it's so important as you're putting this paper together, Don will help you. And so our members start building that relationship with a member of Congress before they're even elected, as they're get run.
Before they're even elected. That should be illegal. So I hope that article does get more attention. I just happened to come across it late last night, but I hope it does get more attention, because to me, the way that I see it, this is just, I feel like this is money laundering. Like, I feel like I'm watching Ozark. Did you guys watch that show, The Ozark? I feel like I'm watching Ozarks. And I feel like that's what they're doing. Like, this is some mafia type of stuff, man. They're still doing it. They're just using different like vehicles to do it. So they're trying to come up with ways to be a little bit more clever now. This is just really bad. Now, here's the plus side about all this. I have never seen AIPAC this concerned before in my life. I have never seen them this shaken to where they created that ad that says AIPAC is America first. I have never seen it. So that says something. The fact that they are going to such extremes, that does say something. And I think that's something we should keep in mind. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.